Okay, we're no longer squeezing musk oil in Western Siberia. We're now making something by a company called Rodan, and this is actually two separate problems. So we're going to do problem 4.1 first, and then we're going to do problem 4.2. But we have to make sure that you see that we're handling them separately. And I want you to see what the difference is. This is their information. Now keep in mind that this is for labor. This is problem 4, problem 4 on Connect, exercise 4 in your text. This is for labor. So you can't have any ending inventory or beginning inventory of labor. Labor is an instantaneous commodity. You use it as you buy it and then it's gone. So we're going to produce 8,000, 6,500, 7,000, and 7,500 units, whatever they are. And each unit takes 35 hundredths of an hour, which is 21 minutes, and the labor rate is $12 per hour. So let's do that first. Well, for the first quarter, they tell us we're going to make 8,000 units. The second quarter, we're going to make 6,500 units. You see where I'm getting these numbers from, okay? The third quarter, we're going to make 7,000 units. And the fourth quarter, we're going to make 7,500 units. And if you add those across, for the year, we're going to make 29,000 units. Each of those units is going to take 35 100ths of an hour. So we have to multiply each of those by 0.35. To see how many hours we're going to need. 0.35 times 8,000, 2,800. 0.35 times 6,500, 2,275. I'm not doing this in my head. I worked it out with a calculator before I started recording. 35 times 7,000 is 2,450, and 35 times 7,500 is 2,625. 35 times 29,000 is 10,150, and if you add across, you'll come up with the same number. The direct labor cost, they tell us, is $12 per hour. So we're going to multiply each one of these by $12. To come up with the total labor cost. And when we do that, we find out for the first quarter, $12 times 2,800 hours. We're going to need $33,600 for labor. For the second quarter, $12 times 2,275. We're going to need $27,300 for labor. For the third quarter, we're going to need 2,450 hours, each at $12. That's 29,400. The fourth quarter, we're going to need 2,625 hours. 2,625 hours. Each of those hours is going to cost us $12. So our total is going to be $31,500. If you multiply the 10,150 times $12, you come up with $121,800. And if you add across, you come up with the same. Now that's assuming that the workforce is adjusted each quarter and that there are no constraints or special restrictions on the contracted labor. 2 is a different problem, and let me point out, make sure you see where it's different. Assume that the company's labor force is not adjusted for each quarter. Instead, the company's labor workforce is permanent employees, so we can't add or subtract, who are guaranteed to be paid for at least 2,600 hours. So if we need less than that, we still have to pay for 2,600 hours. If we need more than that, we have to pay overtime. Any hours worked in excess of 2,600 are paid at 1.5 times the normal rate. Time and a half for overtime is fairly standard. Okay, so let's see how this changes things. I just happen to have a new sheet handy. And the total direct labor hours are going to stay the same. Okay, we need 0.35. Just like we did before, okay? So the total labor hours needed stay exactly the same as they were before. 2,800. And these are the same numbers we came up with. Here, I'm just copying these numbers over again, okay? 2,275. 2,450. And 2,625. I need to draw your attention to a couple of things. This one will get overtime. These two will get the guaranteed minimum of 2,600, and this one will get a little bit of overtime. So the regular hours paid because of the contract, and this is not all that uncommon, is 2,600 hours, because that's what our contract says we're going to pay. We're going to pay 2,600 hours. The overtime hours for this one is 200. We use 28, 26 are regular, 200 are overtime. These two, there's no overtime. There's undertime, but you don't deduct for that. And this one, they have 25 hours of overtime. So, first we're going to do the regular wages. $12 an hour times 2,600. So that's 31,200. This is a salaried workforce. The only difference is their contract says that they're salaried, they're guaranteed so many hours, But if there's excess, if there's overtime, they're paid for it. And many employers feel that's unfair, but it really isn't. We're talking about working people who need to be able to feed families and pay mortgages and things like that. Now, we have some overtime wages at $1, at 1.5 times the regular rate. So, we have 200 hours times 1.5 times $12. 200 hours times 1.5 times $12. The other way you can do that is take 1.5 times $12, that's 18, and multiply by 200. In either case, you'll come up with exactly the same amount. $3,600 in overtime, and we'll do the same thing here. We'll either take 1.5 times 25 times 12 or 25 times 18. Either way, it comes up with exactly the same amount, $450 overtime for that period. So the total direct labor cost, if we have the labor constraint of a minimum number of hours and overtime, is $34,800 for the first quarter. It's $31,200 for the second and the third quarters, because they were both under the minimum, and it's $31,650 for the fourth quarter. So again, none of this is particularly difficult. You just have to go through it step by step, piece by piece. The only thing that you really had to think a little bit about was the overtime, and you can either take the rate and increase it by 1.5, or take the total hours and increase that by 1.5. Or you can simply take the 1.5 times the $12 times the 200, and that'll give you the same exact answer. So any way you like to do it, doesn't matter. Don't care how you do it, only care that you do it.